Welcome, everyone, to this session on navigating the complexities of selling a home during divorce. You're about to embark on a new chapter, and our goal today is to make that transition as smooth as possible. My name is Tiffany Hilbert, and along with Team Hilbert, we are your residential real estate experts based here in Rochester, New York. Let's focus on opening the door to your new chapter with confidence and clarity. Our approach is to protect your equity and minimize conflict, paving the way for your fresh start. Today's webinar is designed to give you clarity around how divorce impacts the sale of the home, what decisions matter most, and how to avoid common and costly mistakes. So let's get started. We see this happen all the time. The family home is usually the largest financial asset in a divorce, yet many decisions around it are made emotionally or without complete information. Our goal today is to not tell you what to do. It's to help you understand your options clearly so you can make informed decisions that protect your equity and reduce unnecessary conflict. Selling the home is often the cleanest solution when neither party can comfortably afford it on their own, or when the equity is needed to help with the family. In court order situations, selling may not be optional. Timing, pricing, and execution become especially important in these cases. The local Rochester real estate market has been on absolute fire over the last several years, with very low inventory and high demand. We expect that trend to continue into 2026. If selling the home is something that must take place, we can be assured with the proper planning, pricing, and strategy, you are going to have fantastic success. Let's consider the emotional considerations that happen during the sale of a home while managing a divorce. Before we talk strategy, we're big on strategy. And before we even talk about numbers, it's really important to acknowledge something that is very real, and that's the emotional part of a divorce. A house and a home is more than the walls or the roof. It's where holidays took place. You put up the Christmas tree, you had the ornaments on there. Maybe your kids grew up there, you were the Kool-Aid mom. Perhaps you added a family pet to the crew. It is where everyday life simply happened. Even when you know divorce is the right decision, selling the home can trigger grief, fear, anger, nostalgia, sometimes all at the same time. These emotions are totally normal. Ignoring them doesn't make them go away. It just lets them quietly influence your decisions, and that's certainly not what we want them to do. In real estate, emotions don't usually announce themselves directly. They show up as we have pricing disagreements, hesitation around showings, perhaps conflict over repairs, or delays that stall the sale. What's important to understand is that these reactions aren't about being difficult. They're often about uncertainty, loss, or fear of what comes next. Recognizing this early allows us to put structure in place before emotions cost time or money. The goal is not to suppress your emotion or pretend it isn't there, because as we all know, that's very, very hard to do. The goal is to acknowledge it, and then you're able to make sound decisions that are based on facts and market data. This will help give you a clear strategic plan in place. When communication boundaries are set and expectations are clear, stress drops and outcomes improve. This is why selling a home during a divorce requires a different approach than a typical sale. The home sale isn't just a financial decision. It directly impacts children's sense of stability. As your trusted partner in the process, the goal is to reduce that disruption by maintaining routines whenever possible. And we're talking about school nights, sport events, activities, even sleep schedules. We help set clear showing rules so kids aren't caught off guard or placed in an uncomfortable situation. Once emotions are acknowledged, the most productive thing you can do is get organized financially. Many divorcing couples know what their mortgage payment is, but not the true monthly cost of the home. Isn't that the truth? Without this clarity, conversations around selling or buying out the spouse or even staying put quickly can break down. Financial snapshot is not about blame or negotiation. Let's be very clear on that. It's simply a factual overview of what the home costs to own and maintain month after month, year after year. This snapshot helps answer critical questions, such as, can one person realistically afford the home? Does keeping the home create stability or future stress? These are real questions that you really need to dig deep and understand for yourself and for your family. When both parties are working from the same financial information, decisions become clearer and they become calmer. Whether the outcome is selling the home or pursuing a buyout, the financial snapshot creates a shared understanding, and that reduces conflict significantly. Clarity can feel uncomfortable at first, but it's one of the kindest things you can give yourself during divorce. When the numbers are clear, decisions don't have to be rushed, defended, or revisited later. Now that we've talked about financial clarity, it's important to understand one thing. Numbers alone don't make decisions. They have to fit within legal and financial rules. Even when couples agree on the math, there are legal steps that must be handled correctly before a home can be sold, refinanced, or transferred. The next section is about protecting yourself by making sure the right groundwork is in place before any major real estate decision is made. Think of this as the guardrails. When legal and financial preparations are handled up front, everything else becomes smoother, faster, and far less stressful. Financial clarity helps you understand your options. Legal and financial preparation ensures those options are actually viable and protected. Skipping this step is where we see last-minute delays, legal issues, or costly surprises. In the next section, we'll cover the key legal and financial steps every divorcing homeowner should address before putting a home on the market, including title, mortgage obligations, court orders, and tax considerations. Selling a home during divorce is not the same as a traditional sale. There are legal requirements, financial obligations, and sometimes court involvement that directly affect how and when a home can be sold. Skipping these steps or assuming they'll work themselves out later is one of the most common reasons divorce sales fall apart or get delayed. One of the biggest misconceptions we see is that one spouse moves out and they think they're no longer responsible for the home. Ownership is determined by who is on the title. Financial responsibility is determined by who is on the mortgage. Even if only one person lives in the home, both may still need to sign listing agreements, contracts, and the closing documents. These details must be clarified early to avoid last-minute issues. In many divorces, temporary court orders are in place. These can restrict selling, refinancing, or even making changes to the property without prior approval. Timing also matters financially. Selling while still married versus after divorce can impact capital gains, exclusions, and tax liability. This is why coordination with attorneys and tax professionals is so critical. Small timing differences can make large financial consequences. Legal and financial preparation isn't about slowing things down, it's about protecting you and your family. When these pieces are handled up front, the sale process becomes cleaner, calmer, and far more predictable. This preparation creates the foundation for everyone that follows: pricing, showings, negotiation, and closing. Taking the time to prepare legally and financially protects your money, your timeline, and your peace of mind. Once the legal and financial groundwork is in place, the next step is preparing the home itself, not only physically, but again, as we said, emotionally for the market. Let's remember that proper preparation prevents poor performance. We all have heard that in our lifetime. It's not a delay, rather, it's a protection that is needed. Once the legal and financial groundwork is in place, the focus needs to shift to preparing the home. Buyers don't just evaluate a house, they evaluate how it feels. Proper preparation helps buyers see the home's potential and often leads to stronger offers and smoother negotiations. Decluttering during divorce can be especially challenging because personal belongings often carry emotional weight. The goal is not to decide who keeps what, it's to create a neutral, spacious environment for buyers. Whenever possible, we recommend separating personal decisions from preparation decisions to reduce conflict. One quick tip that I love to share with my sellers is start in one room. Finish your room. Have a box for keep, donate, toss. Finish the room, empty the closet. Once you're done with one room, you're not chasing your tail. Then you can move on to the next. It will make you feel like you have a sense of what the decluttering actually looks like. Preparation is about strategy and it's not perfection. Simple improvements like fresh paint or minor repairs, some basic maintenance, often deliver the best return. Major renovations rarely make sense during divorce and can create unnecessary disagreements or financial strain. It's best to discuss all of this with your professional real estate agent. How a home is prepared depends heavily on whether it's occupied or vacant. Occupied homes require clear rules around cleanliness and showing access. Vacant homes still need attention. Utilities, temperature control, and regular check-ins matter to protect the property. Pricing the home during divorce can be one of the most emotionally charged decisions. But the market doesn't respond to your emotion. It responds to positioning, competition, and the value that they feel. The goal is not to win on price. The goal is to maximize the outcome. Pricing is not about opinion, it's about positioning. And the market is going to help us determine what that proper price is. Pricing is one of the most critical decisions in any sale, but during divorce it matters even more. When a home is priced incorrectly at the start, it often leads to a longer time on the market, price reductions, and added tension between parties. The goal is to create early momentum because strong interest early on typically leads to better outcomes. One of the most effective tools in a divorce sale is pricing agreement established before the home goes live. This means agreeing on a price range, understanding how the market will respond, and setting clear expectation for adjustments if those are needed. When this framework is in place, price discussions later are calmer and fact-based. They're not based on emotion. Agreements made early prevent conflict later. A neutral pricing strategy is based on facts and not opinions. We use recent comparable sales, current competition, market trends to recommend a price range, and we will make sure both parties understand that rationale. Agreeing on the strategy before the home goes live prevents disagreements later on. Pricing and marketing work together. In the Rochester market, the first 0 to 7 days on the market is when buyer attention is the greatest and the highest. Proper preparation, professional marketing, and strategic pricing help attract serious buyers and create leverage in negotiations. This is especially important in divorce sales. Buyers don't know your history with the home. They only respond to price, condition, and value. When strategy leads and emotion is acknowledged but contained, results do improve. Once the pricing and marketing strategy are in place, the next challenge is managing the showings, communication, and access without adding additional stress or conflict. Showings are often when tension peaks during a divorce sale. Having those specific showing times is essential for less confusion. With a market such as Rochester, it is critical to allow as many buyers into the home as possible because many homes are working with delayed negotiations. Clear communication boundaries are critical. We establish one point of contact and provide written updates to both parties at the same time. This removes misunderstandings, prevents side conversations, and keeps the process very professional. Boundaries are not about limiting anyone. They're about creating clarity so the sale can move forward smoothly. In the Rochester market, buyers are extremely active, but they are informed and they are very price sensitive. Homes that are priced correctly and presented well continue to sell efficiently and quickly. Overpricing, even slightly, often leads to immediate pushback, longer time on market, which can create tension during divorce. This makes strategic pricing and clean presentation especially important. Buyers respond to value, clarity, and confidence. And when strategy leads, the market does the rest. Once offers begin to come in, things can feel fast and emotional. This is where structure matters the very most. Clear evaluation, defined negotiation strategy, and organized closing steps protect the financial outcome and the timeline. Receiving an offer is often the most emotionally charged moment in the sale, especially during a divorce. There may be pressure to accept quickly, or fear of losing a deal, or disagreement about what's good enough. This phase requires structure and clear communication to keep the process moving forward without unnecessary conflict. And I do want to add, having trust in your real estate agent and their experience is so important in this step. They're in the market day after day, week after week, month after month. And if they are students of the market, they're going to know exactly how to guide you with any questions that you may have. It's important to remember that the highest price is not always the best offer. Financing strength is extremely important. Any contingencies, inspection terms, timelines, they all affect and they could have risk and they could affect the outcome. Our role is to break each offer down clearly so both parties understand the full picture, not just the number at the top. And please remember, it's not the real estate agent that makes the final decision on the sale price. It is the home sellers together that make that determination. We're just there to guide you. Negotiation during this time works best when there is a single agreed upon strategy. Side conversations, emotional reactions, or conflicting instructions can weaken your position. Keeping negotiations written and structured protects leverage and reduces misunderstandings. Even after an offer is accepted, the work is not done. During divorce, both parties may still need to sign documents, even if one spouse has moved out. Clear coordination with attorneys and lenders helps ensure the closing happens on time and without surprises. When expectations are clear and the process is structured, closing doesn't have to be stressful, even during divorce. At this point, you've seen how structure, clarity, and preparation support better outcomes at every stage of a divorce home sale. Closing doesn't have to be stressful even during divorce. When legal groundwork, financial clarity, pricing, and communication have been handled properly, the final stage becomes procedural rather than emotional. And getting to that finish line is about coordination and not crisis management. So today, we've walked through the full picture of selling a home during a divorce, not just a transaction, but the reality behind it. Emotional considerations are in motion, and managing emotions to keep the process on track is extremely important. Financial clarity. Clear numbers drive confident decisions. Legal and financial preparation. Aligned professionals prevent delays and disputes. Pricing, marketing, negotiations. Strategic pricing and negotiation protect your value. Closing the sale with structure. The process and clarity ensure a smooth close. This is the most important takeaway I want you to have. Divorce home sales don't fail because people don't care. They fail because there isn't enough structure or a strong enough agent that is there to guide you through the process. Clear expectations, neutral guidance, and factual decision-making protect not only the outcome, but your peace of mind. A clear, well-organized transition creates space for what comes next without lingering financial or emotional strain. Letting go of the home can feel very heavy, but it also creates that clarity and opportunity. You're taking a weight off of your shoulders. This is the moment. It's not a moment about loss, but it's about moving forward with intention. We've created several resources to support you beyond today's webinar. These tools are designed to help you organize information, reduce stress, and make informed decisions at your own pace. If you're navigating this process and would like clarity specific to your situation, we are here to help. Conversations are always confidential, neutral, and focused on your goals with no pressure. I want to go through a few questions that some of our viewers have submitted. Can my spouse sell the house without permission or refuses to cooperate? This is a fantastic question, and we're asked this very often. In New York State, if both names are on the deed, both signatures are required. When you close, you have to pass on a clear title. In New York State, we are an attorney state, so they handle the title part. The only way one spouse can legally transfer title alone is if they are the sole owner on the title, or if the court order authorizing the sale is as such. Here's a side note to keep in mind. Even if only one person is on the title, the home may still be considered maternal property, subject to equitable financial distribution during the divorce. I can tell you this, that lenders and title companies will not close without proper signatures or court authority. So this has to be taken care of up front. Another question we received was, what happens if we can't agree on the listing price? This does happen often, and when it does, the home cannot be listed and the sale stalls. Attorneys may need to intervene, and the issue may have to go before a judge. In these cases, delay often costs money, especially if the home sits unsold while expenses continue. Carrying costs continue, tension in the household continues, and the market continues to move on regardless. Here's the deal. If it's a court order and the judge says it needs to be sold, they will most likely require a professional appraisal, appoint a referee, and grant authority to list at a court-determined price. Neither spouse has a say in the pricing. They don't really care how the market may be reacting at the moment. Wouldn't you rather have control over the pricing than the court? This is where a professional real estate agent that is a student of the market is your best ally. We provide a detailed market analysis and review comparable sales together. We look at the active competition and talk about buyer behavior. Did you know in 2025, the average days on market was only 7 in Rochester? We will sometimes discuss pre-agreed pricing framework. We all agree on a price, we put it on the market, give it a defined period of time, and if that does not sell, we have an agreed upon price adjustment plan. This is not a strategy that is favorable in our market. The market does not pause while decisions stall. Remember, the goal is not for one spouse to win the pricing agreement. The goal is for the market to guide the decision. What if one of us wants to keep the house instead of selling? This is a common question. A spouse wanting to keep the house is often tied to the stability that it creates, especially if children are involved. So it's completely understandable. Keeping the home usually entails a few things: the ability to refinance the mortgage into one person's name, the ability to buy out the other spouse's equity, and the ability to comfortably afford the monthly carrying costs alone. Here's a real question you have to ask yourself: does keeping the home create a long-term stability or short-term comfort with long-term stress? It's really important to understand that. Sometimes you have to dig really deep to find the answer to that in your situation. What if there's liens or other debts tied to the property? Liens and debts tied to a property don't automatically prevent a sale, but they do need to be identified and addressed before closing. It does not help if you try to hide what your true financial status is. It's discovered as we work through the title and through the process. For the best final outcome, you must be fair to yourself and those helping you with the transaction, especially a real estate agent. You've got to be upfront on your finances. I personally have had sellers forget to share some debt load that was tied to the home because they were embarrassed. We, as trained, experienced professional real estate agents, hold no bias or judgment that can make the home seller feel uncomfortable. A lien could be anything in the form of a second mortgage, a HELOC, which is a home equity loan, unpaid taxes, contractor work, or even a legal judgment. Contractor or mechanic liens are seen when a homeowner may have strapped on payment of some repairs or renovations, or perhaps they did not agree with the final price of a job. The mechanic could place a lien on the home, and they are in line with the rest of the creditors to get paid off when the home sells. Sometimes homeowners don't even know they have one. In some cases, liens are paid off at closing from the sale proceeds. The attorneys or the title company calculates what is owed, and those amounts are deducted before any remaining funds are distributed. It becomes part of the closing math, not a surprise at the end. The only time it becomes more complicated is if the total debt exceeds the value of the home, and that is never fun. In that case, additional negotiations with lenders may be required, and legal guidance becomes especially important. The key is discovering these issues early and not at the closing table. What does a physical or a typical listing consultation look like? Here at Team Hilbert, we do many, many things. This is just a short list of what that might look like. We prepare comparables, going back 60, 90, or 100 days to see what's happening in the market. We look at sales that are within your neighborhood. We discuss absorption within the market. This simply means we're able to calculate if there's a seller, buyer, or neutral market. Those calculations are based on a number of active, pending, and closed units within a certain price point and timing. We discuss the condition of the home and preparing it. Perhaps staging the home as a solution. Small repairs and fixes. We discuss showings and schedules, pets and children in the home. We discuss what showings will look like, disruption of them for a time period. We discuss what delayed negotiations, escalation clauses, appraisal gaps, and post-possession, to name a few, may look like. We discuss the right time to go on the market and what your finances may look like. We prepare estimated seller net sheets so you have an idea upfront as to what your final proceeds may look like based on final sale price. We discuss what your timeline to move may be, and so on. We take all of this and we put together a very tailored and individual strategic plan that everyone agrees upon. Until you have the plan, things can feel out of control, scary, or even confusing. We can pull all that together. But again, it's all about the plan. At Team Hilbert, we've helped many families navigate the sale of the home during divorce. We've handled court-ordered sales, amicable separations, and situations where communication is extremely difficult. Our role is always neutral, we don't take sides, and we focus on the structure, clear communication, and protecting the financial outcome for both parties. It was an absolute pleasure sharing some insights into a home sale during the divorce process. Please know that Team Hilbert is your trusted ally, and we're always available for further consultation. Now go out and make it an amazing day.